I'm super excited, so thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get it started halfway through with me saying my name is...
Yes, Christopher Essex.
Yeah, so that's me. And I'm a country music artist out here. I started, though, as we were saying, I started out as an actor for most of my life. That's what I got my bachelor degree in. So I have a bachelor's in fine arts from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Wonderful school, wonderfully expensive, so I'm paying off those student loans as we speak.
And the first time we met, which was pretty cool, we realized I lived in Pittsburgh for about a year and was about a mile away from Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah. Pittsburgh is a really, really great city. I love, I'll definitely plan a trip, hopefully in 2021, if it'd be let, but that'd be a great trip back there because I loved, Shady Side,
sure,
downtown area, Squirrel Hill. I loved Squirrel Hill. It was so cute.
It's so great, man. So you went there for acting,
mm-hmm.
and then
I went to New York City, did that whole starving artist thing, but I seemed to be doing it pretty well out there, which I was very, very lucky to be making a living out there as an actor. And I was in an audition for the show $1 Million Quartet, which I had already done regionally when I was in college. And this version, I had just done a short little bit on 54 Below. And so I had plenty of videos, plenty of resume stuff for this. And this was them bringing it back to Chicago. So they brought me in. I landed it. I went out to Chicago, and it really was, if I had not gotten that role in Chicago, I don't know if I would have been here, because spending that time away from the city really let me imagine what it would be like if I didn't go back. Sure. if I really took the chance on being a musical artist. And I'm really happy for that. It was in that hotel room, because we stayed in a hotel for the entire 4.5 months. I actually spent most of 2019 not in an actual room, because the first 4 months was in a hotel, then the other 6 months were on a cruise ship. So I maybe slept in a bed in a house for a month of that entire year. But it was in that hotel room that I wrote my first song, and it was wonderfully terrible. And
what was it called?
So it's called Last First Date. And I actually love the concept behind it. Every once in a while I'll throw it into a round just because I do think it's a cute song. Yeah. There's nothing mind-blowing about the lyricism. But for me, because I still remember I was telling my mom, we had been having conversations because I had started posting covers on social media of doing country music stuff. It was 2018. That was right around the time where everyone was doing that. So I was on the bandwagon, and I had a couple videos that were doing well. One of them was performing at 54 Below, singing "Your Man," Josh Turner's "Your Man," and for that New York audience, as soon as I went, "Baby, lock the door and turn," everyone was like, "Woo!" Yeah. And so
that tone,
exactly. Sure. It was one of those things. That was my 2018. That was my song. I did that everywhere because it was a big thing.
And you look like him too a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was riding on those curtails for a while, but I was talking with my mom about it, genuinely having the conversation. She was always a big proponent behind me doing country music. We just raised around country music. She saw that for me, but growing up, which is. I always think it's funny because growing up I was acting is the safe solution for my life. This makes sense. This is a real job here. Being an actor is a real job. Doing a musical artist, whoa.
Right.
But I was having that conversation about I think I want to be a singer-songwriter and a musical artist out in Nashville. And she was like, "That's great. You should probably, though, if you're gonna be a songwriter, you should probably write a song first." And I was like, you are on to something here with this one.
I don't know.
It
seems risky.
It literally never, and I don't know how it never crossed my mind. I was just like, damn, I guess I have to start writing music. And I did, and I sat down. I sat down for It must have been like 8 hours that day, that first time I was sitting in my room alone to write this song. And 8 hours go by and nothing. I had like nothing worth a damn. And
so you didn't look up how to be a songwriter, how to write a song. It was just pen and paper.
Pretty much, yeah. I literally sat and I just kept playing the same 4 chords over and over and over and over and over and over
again. But you taught yourself. Yeah,
I taught. Yeah, exactly. I think for me, it was the best thing that I bring to my songwriting is I came from musical theater, which for me, musical theater has been where some of the best music has been written. You're taught as an actor when the urgent need to tell a story is so high that you can no longer say it. That's when you start singing it. And so I've always known that for me, a song needs to have that level of storytelling.
Sure.
And so, I'm sitting down to write this song, and so I guess I just had an ear of, the parts of a song. You've got to have a verse, you've got to have a chorus, second verse, second chorus. Chances are you're going to have a bridge,
Sure.
Some kind of, get to the end of the song. Yeah. Is there a turning point to the song?
Yeah.
And then you do a breakdown chorus and wrap it up with a big finish, bow tie, and there's your product, right?
Right.
Your ABCs, which I guess I never looked them up, but it's one of those things the more songs you listen to, you kind of know that.
There's a science behind the methodology of songwriting.
Exactly. But it's funny because I try never to go into it with the science.
Right.
Because I think if you look at it as like a science, then you're like painting by numbers, right?
Exactly.
And anyone can paint by numbers, but I don't think of it like that. I think of, okay, the reason that these numbers are painted there is because how are you going to best create the art?
Yes.
And normally that's the method behind the madness. But if you don't look at it with that scope and kind of just form it and it happens, that's great. Because I think when you start a song, you want to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
That's a story, right? Yeah. So when you start that song, where are you to where you end that song? Mm-hmm. And normally that's why you get that breakdown chorus and that big finish at the end is because you kind of get to your climax point right at the end of that.
Right.
But I went to sleep that night after 8 hours of nothing, and I woke up like early as all hell. Like it must have been like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I was just like, I've got it. I knew what like the melody was gonna sound like. I had my chorus there, and over that next day, I had a song, and it was one of those things that gave me the confidence to say, I can do this. I need to get better, but I can do this.
What did you do with that song? I got a song, now what?
Right. I kept adapting it, which is not something I do now as much. A lot of times I'll leave a song be, and then maybe if I'm coming back to it, if I'm thinking about cutting it, I'll take a re-listen, maybe rework the story. I showed it to a few people that I trusted their opinion. One of them being my mom.
Of course.
And she was like, this is great. That was the best she could say with it at that point. But she was like, it is a song, so we're there. I showed it to another friend who had, good constructive criticism on some of the lyric points of it. But I think for me, that song was more of a confidence thing. That, okay, I've done this once. I can do this again. And so from there, I was trying to figure out, what did I do?
Yeah.
Like learning what did I do? Because part of that song was just like, it just felt like lyrics were coming out. Melodies were making sense. And I was like, but how did that come to be, And so then I started looking up songs that I thought were song matches to it. Like using my ear to retrace, what do I listen to that helped me write this song? And that song happened to be very much like a Thomas Rhett feel, and so I started realizing, I was like, okay, I'm pretty much matching like the same patterns that were there. Yeah. Certainly, it was not like I was copying and pasting in any way, shape, or form. It was just he was in my ear clearly enough for that song. And so I think now, as a songwriter, I'm constantly listening to music, but listening to music like, how did they do that? Because whether or not I write it down like, okay, they did ABC, it's now when I'm thinking in my head, okay, oh, that's how they turned the phrase, or that's how they fit all those syllables in there, you know? Right. And I just store it back there, And then every once in a while you're in a write and you're like, yeah, we'll just do this because that's the natural thing to do.
And this was all when you were in Chicago, before you got to Nashville.
Yeah. So I'm in Chicago. I've written my first song and I'm like, I'm ready to be famous now. I've decided, I was like, I am the next big thing. I heard
all you need to do is write one.
Right. I was just like, I've got this. Chris Stapleton, stand by. Here I am. So that's when I was like, in all seriousness, I was like, okay, this is cute. Let's get better. And for me, getting better meant, when I was in college, my freshman year, there was a senior. And he, absolutely amazing. I mean, when I would watch him act, it was transformational. And, I went up to him one time and I was just like, honestly, I'm a freshman. I've got 4 years here. How do I get the most out of these 4 years? How do I get to where you are right now?
Yeah.
And he said, don't get to where I am in 4 years. Get to where I am at the end of this year. Because then by the time 4 years, you will be 4 years better than I am. So learn what I'm doing right now.
Right.
Do it for yourself. And then be that much more ahead of the game. Don't set that goal for, I want to be where he is at that age. Be right now.
Sure.
And so then I was like, I try and take that mentality into everything I do. And so songwriting was something similar. I was like, let's get amazing songwriters, so I started looking up some music online, some people that I had kind of like were indie artists out here that I was like, okay, they're getting some cuts here. Who are some of the writers behind it? Who are some of the co-writers behind it? And so I started getting my lists of people that I wanted to write with. And while I was in Chicago, I had gotten cast to do $1 Million Quartet out with Norwegian Cruise Lines. So I knew that from, I think I started that contract end of April and ended it November 8th of 2019. So I knew for those 6 months I was out of the country and then I was coming here to Nashville. And I was like, I've got 6 months to be on my own. Before I do that, let's get with some really good writers, write some stuff, and learn a whole bunch, cram it in like a week. And then take 6 months to dissect everything I learned from those co-writes. So I did. I came out here. I had messaged a couple people that I'd wanted to write some songs with. Yeah. They were luckily so ready and down for that experience. And we did that. I mean, it was a long weekend for me. I was bouncing from co-write to co-write. I mean, 2 to 3 a day, which mentally is exhausting.
Yeah. Because they're a couple hours, if not 4 or 5.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, and what's crazy is like some of them we wrote 2 songs in. Some of them we spent 5 hours and we got 1, and some of them were 2 hours, and a Swipe Right on Me, which is my debut single, was like 2.5 hours. It was like that, and we were done, and we were like, so you wanna grab food? Are you hungry or anything like that? I mean, it's just, but then I took all of those songs. I went on the cruise ship, and I dissected all of them. And I figured I was like, okay, what worked? I had all the recordings from us writing the song too. I listened back to the recordings because I was like, how did we come up with those ideas? What was the ABCs of coming up with that line and stuff like that?
What were you recording on?
So actually, I have the same Blue Yeti microphone right there.
There you go.
I did it into GarageBand because there was nothing. I didn't want it for that purpose. Sure. I didn't want anything fancy. Just plug it in. I don't need the sound quality to be amazing. I just need to hear it. But Blue Yeti mic was great because you get the room tones, you get every little thing, and it's one of those things you don't need to turn your gain very high on to hear everything that happens in that room.
Right.
And I still try and do that as much as possible in any write. I set up my computer, put the microphone down, forget about it.
I love it. And I asked for that purpose of like going back a little bit when you just said, hey, I'm going to find this list of writers to then co-write with.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that from somebody that said, hey, this is what you should do? Or did that just come to you and just say, hey, if I'm going to Nashville, I need to find co-writers? I think for me, I love that. But I'm just curious if it was like you heard that's what you're supposed to do.
I feel like I had to have heard that's what I was supposed to do. I'm one of those people, and I really think that everyone should be this, is be your own CEO.
100%.
I mean, you just kind of have to be. Whatever you do, even if you don't own a small business, even if you're not a singer-songwriter, you're not an artist, you're working for a company.
Yeah.
If you're working for a company, be the CEO of your life, though, because you need to know everything that you're putting investment and energy into. Because a CEO of a small business, they know everything that's happening with marketing. They know everything that's happening with design. They know everything about what the company is, because that's their life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just the way I looked at it. So I know that I was reading articles and books. I mean, that's when I first read about the songwriter cut, the 200%, and the publishers and registering your songs with BMI or ASCAP, doing all of that stuff that's where I had no idea that this was a thing. I feel like a lot of people, you hear a song and you just kind of assume, they must have just written that song. Right. You don't realize the secret life of songwriter. What's that show, Secret Life of the American Teenager or something like that? You don't realize everything that goes on behind the scenes. But I think you have to. I think you have to learn about that.
And that's why I asked, right? I think especially for what we're trying to do in terms of helping songwriters in their career, I think it's the little tactical things of, hey, you wrote a song on what? Right? I think people go, what do I use?
Right.
And what are the tools out there that are going to make it easy and simple, just given whatever your circumstances are.
Right.
If it's, cost effective in whatever way. But then it's, I wrote a song, then what do I do?
Right. And so that's a big, and I think that's a big thing everyone still struggles with, right? Is everyone finishes writing a song and they're like, great. How do I now make money? Yeah. I've just spent 4 hours. Yeah. I've written my masterpiece. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, you can't start thinking about what do you do after you've written the masterpiece. It has to be 3 months before that masterpiece is written. It's this idea. Where did I hear it on? I heard it on. Are you familiar with Rick Barker?
Yeah.
Okay. I watch his videos all the time.
Sure.
I think that as an artist, specifically as an artist, he's very much geared toward being an artist, right? He is someone to watch because Rick Barker used to be Taylor Swift's manager, did her radio promo when she was going through. I mean, now he doesn't manage clients, but he gives basically the tips, the tricks of the trade.
Like a blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. Of like, this is what's working, but he's constantly keeping his ear out, and he's bringing people in that are redefining this business. And he said, it was about, and I don't remember the name of the woman, but basically this woman wrote and sent a letter into Oprah and was like, hey, Oprah, bring me on your show. I want to promote my book. Oprah says, okay, let me bring you on the show. She goes on, the book hadn't been finished yet. So the book isn't finished. She's in the prime spot. Everyone's now looking at her. Everyone is so interested in everything she has, but she's not finished with the book yet. And it's almost like this missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if you had that book, if you had 2 books, and now you're in front of Oprah, think your life is now at a great starting point. Now, not to say, obviously, she probably got enough traction. The book ended up selling once she was able to pre-hype it. But the thing I think you got to prepare for is you don't know when that moment clicks where you do write your masterpiece. So I think you've got to be meeting people, reaching out. Social media is great now. In some instances, but it's great for, you can DM anyone. Yeah. Not everyone's going to respond, but do it anyway. DM everyone. Most people have their emails listed on their social media. Reach out constantly. Just reach out to people and it's one of those things that the more you reach out to people, you start building those contacts. And now you've got a source to reach out to more people. We Should Write Sometime is literally an app you can now log in and just start swiping on songwriters, start hearing songwriters and hearing songs that they've written through the app and start being like, okay, maybe I don't click with this. Why don't I click with this? Or why don't I think that this person is maybe a good match for me? And you can start seeing, is it because they're a better melody line person and you're a melody line person? Sure. You're like, we've got 2 melody line people. what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
You know, maybe you're a lyricist and you're looking for that melody line person. You know, there are plenty of people who don't play instruments too. If there are plenty of like amazing guitarists that are great for writing because they can do interesting things on the guitar that let you hear things that you wouldn't normally hear when you're playing your 4 chords, your 3 chords in the Truth Country song, you know? So, I think it's one of those things that now I think that's what's exciting about it, you know? And then you can move to social media. You can start building those relationships. And I think as a songwriter, that's what you have to do because now you've written your masterpiece.
Right.
And let's say a friend you met through the app, right? You are on their social media and you realize that friend has an artist friend in town. Mm-hmm. That artist friend is looking for songs. You reach out to your friend and say, hey, we had that really great write this one time.
Yeah.
Would you mind sending this demo to your friend? Just let them hear it. See if they're all interested. They may be like, nah, not happening. But they also may be like, this is my next single I'm cutting, and then it's there. But that happened 3 months ago. You built that relationship.
Right. And when you're reaching out on social, how are you being strategic about it? And so you're not just kind of doing a shotgun approach and I'm going to DM anybody and everybody.
Right.
There's probably a little more thought and strategic process that should go into that, given who you are as an artist, your music genre, look-alike artist, maybe.
Definitely. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, whether or not you're conscious of it or not. Right. But I think you should be conscious of it. And so I got out here in December. Before I ever got out here, I started following blogs. Blogs are a really great resource to see who the blogs are writing about because normally a lot of the blogs, the smaller blogs, you know, they're Instagram pages with maybe up to 1,000 followers. You know, they're not Taste of Country or CMA, CMT, you know, where they're writing about the biggest artists, which obviously follow those because you want to see what the big people are doing for sure.
Yeah.
But start researching, you know, there are people that are in a small town in Arizona who I have a blog interview with this woman. She lives out in India and she's bringing country music to India.
Sweet.
I'm gonna absolutely have an interview with her. Now she's a blog that you might want to follow because when she reached out, I looked at all the people she's interviewed. She's interviewed a couple of my friends, a couple of artists that I've wanted to meet in town.
Sure.
Follow them because you're gonna then see who do I need to follow. Follow those artists. Be engaged on them. You know, don't comment like, oh, this is great if you don't really know them. Wait until you think that there's something great. But follow them for a few months before you ever reach out. Just because it's pretty easy to see you follow and then someone gets a DM request that says, big fan of your page, would love to collab sometime. Well, you can't be a big fan of my page because I just saw you coming. Yeah. You know, like, I don't have 1 million followers. I do see when you come onto my page for the most part. But now someone comes over and says, you know, like this woman, she came over because she saw that I had been reposting a bunch of blog interviews that I had been having. She reaches out because she says, I've been on your page for over a month. I can believe that she has because I didn't see her follow come up in this last week, you know. I can look back at my likes, seeing she's liked posts that I've done. I'm absolutely happy to now do this interview. I follow her page too because it's a mutually beneficial thing. But I think the strategy behind social media is build actual relationships. Don't think it's going to be a one-stop shop where you follow someone, reach out, and it's immediately there. Because I think that people are very cautious of using and being used, you know, and I think more than likely people just want friendships, real connections, and like in this industry, that's what it comes down to.
And it kind of comes full circle when you say all that, and then how we connected.
Sure.
Right? And so I think there was just some mutual like, oh my gosh, I have to hear this. I have to talk to them.
And that's a great flip of the coin too, right? Is if it is a situation like this where obviously I think we connected because I found their page through, maybe it was an Instagram promotion. I'm not entirely sure where it came up, but it was something that came up where it was Songwriting app. It's the Tinder and Bumble for songwriters. And I just was ready to release a song called Swipe Right on Me, which is a song that just talks about dating apps and swiping right on me. And as a songwriter writing a song about swiping right and finding an app that, you know, I was like, this is a perfect connection.
Right.
But I came through it with that pitch to you guys.
100%.
I came through and identified what it was.
Right.
You know, it wasn't that I saw that they were an app and they had this great tool or whatever, and I was like, I'm a songwriter. You have an app for songwriters. We should connect, you know?
Yeah.
It was, I literally said, I researched you. I saw that this was a thing. I would love to, and I also didn't pitch anything.
Yeah.
I said, I would just love to connect.
Yeah.
And that's what...
That's when I jump in. I'm like, you need to come here. So we need to help, you know, promote the song. We need to help, because I think that it's just... That's how it works. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, and
be genuine.
Like,
be genuine. Do your research behind it. You know, I think that anyone that ever reaches out to anyone, you can see when they're being genuine or not. You know, and that's a big thing. You can see when someone's done their research about you. It's really not hard.
Right.
I mean, I've had plenty of people that have DM'd me saying, I love your music. And this was like 2 months ago when I didn't have any music out.
Like,
so like, are
here's
you...
my music.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
here's
well,
mine.
you couldn't have loved my music. Maybe I posted like a couple of songs on my Instagram, like clips of songs I've written.
Your mom
like,
sent them.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
The
she's like DMing every random. Yeah, right. So you know, do your research. You know, it goes with anything you do. Know your market.
So that's a perfect lead into, like, you know, you mentioned the Swipe Right on Me song.
Right.
So just a little backstory on that.
Yeah. This song. It's so funny too, because you know, I talk about how, as an actor, when you can't speak anymore, that's when you start singing. And then I release a song like Swipe Right on Me. But it, you know, I think funny. that song, it came from listening. Once you start writing songs, you never stop listening. Yeah. And listen to everything that comes into your life, because that song came from when I was in town to write some songs with a couple of the writers out here, right? I'm like, my mind is being blown every time I jump into a songwriting session. Because like so many things are happening that I never could have imagined my mind creating, you know, or us creating in a session, right? And so now I'm like turning on, like, okay, everything I'm hearing means something. Like, let me start getting those juices pumping. And I think that's another thing to segue real quickly into is write all the time. Because the more you do, the more that muscle is flexed, and the more you are listening, the more you are responding to the stimuli that are around you. Something that is around you.
It's one of those two. It's one of those two.
So I'm on my way to this write, and I'm getting all these push notifications from the dating app saying, wow, you must be so hot because everyone in this area is swiping on you because you're new to the area. It's one of those technology knows how to. They know how to get you on there, and they got me on there. They tricked me. But so I'm swiping. I'm at a red light, which I'm not promoting doing. That's not the thing you should be doing at red lights, but I was doing it. And I'm thinking at this time, I know that I'm leaving, I probably must have left like Sunday midday, Sunday afternoon or something. And then I was leaving for 6-7 months. And so like I'm thinking, you know, I would love to meet someone, obviously, but chances of a relationship are kind of tough. So go on like a first date out here and be like, I'll see you in 7 months, you know.
Cool with me being gone for 7 months.
Yeah, right. And so I was just thinking, you know, it would be great if I could just meet someone, go out, have a great time. Like, there's just no pressure. You know, like it used to be. You could go out and just have a good time. There's no pressure. There's no assumption of this being anything other than two people going out to have a good time. And so that's, you know, what I was kind of swiping, thinking that I would love to happen. And while I'm thinking this, Good Time, Alan Jackson comes on to my playlist. And I'm like, this is, I haven't heard this song in so long, you know, which I love about my playlist too. I throw in so many of the songs that I love to hear that just surprise me when they come on. And I'm like, it'd be great to write a honky-tonk line dance type of a song. Maybe I should write it about dating apps. You know, because I'm thinking, well, you know, you can swipe right, you know, you
Yeah.
can do that right motion,
yeah,
you know, because I'm thinking like electric slide, you know,
Right.
to the left, you know. So I'm thinking all these things, like they literally call it out. Why couldn't I do that, right? So I bring it into this right, and I'm like, I've got magic here. This song, Swipe Right on Me. Now my co-writer, about 50 years old, is like, cool. What does that mean?
That's good.
But it was the perfect person for this. Bill DeLuigi is an amazing songwriter. I've written with him maybe 3 times. He's just an amazing songwriter. He's just got that ear and the years behind him to do that too. And what was perfect about this is we meshed everything that I could have wanted to hear from the sound origins of the song. You know, like I talked about Last First Date, had origins with Thomas Rhett.
Yeah.
This one, obviously, I wanted to have an Alan Jackson feel.
Yeah.
So you need to have known how Alan Jackson has his sound. You know, I also am coming off of $1 Million Quartet. You know, that show that I was in where rockabilly is the thing. So you got Blue Suede Shoes, you've got Matchbox, and you've got all these songs that have that kind of dun ba dun da dun da dun da dun. You know, and that's kind of that sound quality you're hearing in the background. And so you have to have that knowledge of it, because that's the hardest thing. Is writing a song is easier than people think it is, because you can put any lyric onto a page and probably find words that rhyme, but it's making sure you have the understanding of the lyrics that match the sound quality of the song. That's when you really get something. And with this one, we were on such 2 opposite ends of the spectrum that when we mixed them together, I think it just came so well together.
I love it.
But yeah, that's the song.
Well, we would love to hear it.
Okay.
It's only appropriate to have the amazing Christopher Essex
Sing a song.
sing his new single, which can be found everywhere.
Yes, everywhere you can listen to music. But yeah, this is Swipe Right on Me. So you can either swipe right on me on Tinder, on Bumble, on Hinge, or on We Should Write Some Time. Here we go. I reached in my pocket full of Friday night mud. I went to the DJ and I slipped him a 20. I said, see that girl trying not to be seen. She's hiding behind that 5-inch screen. The good time Alan Jackson, yeah, that ought to get her attention. I better inbox on Bumble, who's buzzing like a bee. Well, I'd sure like to FaceTime, but I don't mean virtually. Dancing's no fun alone, so help me put down a phone so she can swipe right on over to me. Oh yeah, it's a fun one. She had her hand on the Android like it was a Bible till the DJ played down the country go to rhyme. It wouldn't be long she let it go. That boot and scoot and buggy had to tap at her toes. Well, I reeled her in for an old school time when I casted out my brand new pickup line. Get your fingers off the tin and walk them all over me. Well, I'd sure like to FaceTime, but I don't mean virtually. Dancing's no fun alone, so will you put down your phone so you can swipe right on over to me, yeah. Alright, now we're gonna bring it down just a little bit. I said swipe right on me, that's a honky-tonky harmony. I said swipe right on me, that's a honky-tonky harmony. I said swipe R-I-G-H-T, well it's a honky-tonky harmony. Now this is where in the track you hear me play a harmonica. Which is always an interesting time. But again, that goes back to listening to Alan Jackson. And that's how I slide into those DMs. No more Bumble and no more tin, but it looks like a nice to me. We got to FaceTime, and I don't mean virtually. Oh hell no, dancing's no fun alone. So you put down that phone, so you can swipe right on over to me. One more time, here we go. No more dancing alone. It could have gone either way, I know. But you swipe right when you swipe right on over to me. Oh, I think we turned her notifications on. Thank you.
Yes.
You know, I heard Ashley McBride say something one time. We can send a man to the moon, but we can't keep a guitar in tune.
That's pretty good. Dude,
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you
dude,
for...
that was awesome.
Oh, appreciate that.
Beautiful song. Only the most appropriate song I've ever heard.
Absolutely. It just seems like the perfect pair. It looks like a match to me.
Where can everybody find you?
So you can find me, Christopher J. Essex, on any social media platform, except for Facebook. Apparently Christopher J. Essex on Facebook was already taken. I know we don't like that guy, but it's Christopher J. Essex Music on Facebook.
Wow.
But Christopher J. Essex on Instagram, YouTube. You're gonna find me on Twitter. I guess I'm starting one this weekend. I know I'm like really behind on the 8 ball on that one. TikTok is coming soon.
You gotta get on TikTok.
I know. But anywhere you'll find me, Christopher J. Essex, on all of them.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.